Although our house is being built with some classic timber frame techniques, it's also going to be helped along with some modern tools as well.
That's right, Kevin. Your house is being built with a method that's over 2,000 years old. But to make it practical and efficient today, we use as much modern technology as we can.
And it's all down here in what you guys call a timber frame office. Ironically, not a timber in sight, but a lot of guys sitting at computers. You know, to my eye, this could be a telemarketing center.
No, it's not that. These are master timber framers. And their job is to take their project from the very beginning all the way until it's up in the air.
All right, and what about our job?
Well, for our job, we have master timber framer Mark Wrench. He'll be the job captain on your house.
Good morning, Mark. Mark Wrench?
That's right.
We call him Wrenchy.
I'll pass on the irony of that. So you're sitting here at a computer. What are you working on here?
I'm looking at every joint, timber to timber joint in your project.
And what are we talking about in terms of number of joints? How many timbers are we talking about?
There's a little over 300 timbers, so there's
Twice as many joints.
Twice as many joints.
So this is all about the joinery right here.
Timber framing is actually the art of joinery. We want it to fit like furniture.
All right, you call it an art though, Ted. I'm looking at a computer doing it, and it would seem to me that that might be taking a lot of the artistry out of this process.
All that's happening here is that we're using a master timber framer to perfect the joinery in virtual reality before we build it on site.
So we still need Mark's professional eye on this computer drawing.
We need Mark for everything. And not only is he working on the joints, but even though we haven't cut anything yet, Mark's thinking way ahead to the raising, to that glorious day when all of this will be picked from the ground up into the air.
All right, so you have isolated a part of the house, looks like part of the roof?
Yep, that's part of the roof. That'll be one pick that we pre-assemble all the pieces on the ground on the site, and then we'll pick that up.
There'll be 4 straps on it, and Mark's going to find the center of gravity so that we know where to put those straps.
Well, that is terrific. So a lot of forethought going into this whole thing, a very powerful tool. So are we ready to actually start cutting some of these timbers?
We are, in fact, ready right now.
All right, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Here we are in the shop floor where our timber frames are made. In fact, these guys are working on the final touches of a roof system that's going to be a part of a fabulous house down in Virginia Beach.
So we've got the joinery and a little bit of assembly going on right here in the shop.
And we've got some fine craftsmanship.
And you got a fine looking shop here. I mean, where did you get these big old timbers here? These arches, these are magnificent. Did you guys fabricate these?
No, we didn't. We actually found them. They were a part of an old grocery store that was taken down not far from here.
All right, so you've recycled them, and it makes for a great place to work.
It's a wonderful workshop. And hey, Kevin, do you remember these timbers?
I do, absolutely. This was that big octagon timber, the old quarry derrick, right?
That's exactly right.
You guys cut the slabs off, squared it up. You can see all the growth rings here.
And eventually, we split it in half.
See if I can, oh, yep, right down the middle. So what was the dimension we ended up with?
It's 10 by 16. These are big timbers.
And remind me, Ted, where are these going in our house?
These are the top plates that are going way up in the roof system. And Liam here, who's going to be operating our machine,
There's our house.
is looking at it right now. And our top plates are up here.
Yep.
They are nearly 50 feet long. And I can tell you right now, we don't have any 50-footers. So what we need to do is make linear splices that are called scarf joints. And these scarf joints will therefore make up that 50-footer that we don't have.
So I see the scarf joint right here, and that's where you're going to overlap the second timber. What about these other cuts? What are these guys?
These are housings for the lower rafters, and these are housings for the upper rafters.
So the computer and your specialists have laid out all the cuts, all the locations, and now this information is actually going to drive a machine.
This information is going to drive an automated machine, and it's going to make all the cuts and remove most of the wood and make it a little bit easier for our craftsmen. This is where our technology really starts improving our efficiency and our accuracy. This is a large automated timber cutting machine. And David here, who will be operating at the console, is the one who oversees the machine and the timber. And I think we're ready to load this timber on and get to work. So you can see that the timber is coming into the machine. The saw is now being raised to make that first cut.
This is sort of a reference point.
It's exactly right, Kevin. That zeroes the timber. From there on, the machine knows where each and every joint is with great precision. So the timber is now being moved and positioned over the universal milling head. And this is a kind of a scary looking device moving across the underneath side of the tenon. That is actually the lower cheek of the tenon at the end of the scarf joint. One cut, another cut, it can't remove all of that wood at the same time, so it does a chunk.
Although it's removing quite a bit of the wood with each pass.
It sure is.
So how much faster is the automated process compared to what you called the dark old days?
It's going to take this machine just 28 minutes for this entire timber. In the old days, it would take a dedicated, skilled craftsman a full 8-hour day to do the same thing.
Well, it's certainly fast, and I have no doubt it's precise, but it actually seems to be making sort of a rough cut. You've got some tear out on the perimeter of that housing.
Well, the machine is accurate, but wood is wood. And there is going to be a little bit of tear out. So we have calibrated this just a little bit off so that we can allow for some hand craftsmanship that's going to happen a little bit later.
So we're still going to see some chisels and some block planes.
We're going to see some sharp chisels and some really good master craftsmen at work. And after about 10 more minutes of work, let me show you what we're going to end up with.
So here's a completed timber. Obviously the scarf joint right here.
That's the lower blade of the scarf. There's going to be a mating upper blade that's going to be received by that lower end.
And the machine even went so far as to actually put what, peg holes in?
These are peg holes, and the reason why is there's a mortise for a post that will be received by this beam in the final construction.
And then secured by those pegs, I presume.
These two pegs will do that job.
So as we travel down the beam, a couple more cuts that I recognize, these are housings, right?
This is a housing, Kevin, for the lower rafter. This is a housing for the upper rafter of that plate.
So we have what was once probably a 400-year-old tree. It is now this beautiful beam, and we get all of this precision in just 28 minutes. You probably don't miss the bad old days, do you?
Not at all, Kevin.
That is great.